Hello and welcome back to the Lighthouse. I am Lightkeeper Sadanaka. So today we're going to conclude this little mini series using a ceremony of sorts. Well, actually it is totally a ceremony. If you want to include religious elements from your background, you can. You can have a actual circle if you're pagan, or if you wanted to open it up with prayer before everything as a Christian, absolutely. So why choose Halloween? In Western beliefs, in Western lore, I should say, we have this understanding that this is when the veil is thinnest between our world and the spiritual world. It doesn't actually just have to be like death and whatnot, and it can be all sorts of different things, to include communicating with like fairies and whatnot. But either way, it's just a lore thing, so it kind of makes it appropriate. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to believe that. It's just kind of a fun thing to do for Halloween that also helps cleanse something out of your soul, or wipe a slate clean. You can do it in any other format, any other day of the year. I just thought that it'd be kind of cool to have something for Halloween, especially if you don't have anything else to do. So you've done these meditations, right? And you've come up with these lists, and you can't really see what's written on these because I used a practically invisible marker, but I can read them when I put them on here. So either way, point is that you write down these different things that you have, and I only took 2, but I would tell you that every single one that you said was not yours at all, you really need to have all of them have like a note to them. If there were too many to really do, all right, gotcha. So then the next thing that we're gonna have is we're gonna have fire, right? So why fire? Why use fire? Well, fire is a way of kind of dispersing information into the ether, so to speak. It's also very holy and sacred in many traditions. In fact, the Zoroastrians actually have a flame that they believe has never gone out for like over 2,000 years. And I think it's like in a cave, and they have somebody that goes in, and it's like their sacred duty to switch out with other people, kind of like the fallen soldier, the tomb of the unknown soldier. How they have somebody that's always going out there day and night, and they're constantly just in and out doing this sacred duty for our nation. This is the same thing that they do for Zoroastrianism. They have a flame, and they have a sacred duty to maintain that flame non-stop. Can you imagine? I actually wonder if it's ever actually gone out and someone was like, shh, it didn't happen. But it's a sacred flame. So fire is holy in many different traditions, and as it would happen, one of Samhain was one of the main 4 Celtic fire festivals. So that just kind of brings it all more, and Samhain being another name for Halloween. It's like the word we use, Westerners used before it was Halloween, and before you could, and Halloween, well, we're not going to get into that history. So either way, it's fire. You could use water. I'm very partial to water. However, what we're communicating with is not in water. If you wanted to cleanse yourself of something, that's more of a water thing, because you're cleaning yourself off. Fire, however, can send information into the air. And even on the opposition, when you look at stuff, it's earth and, or water and earth, and then fire and air, which actually I probably have those switched. Either way, I can't see in my head the cardinal directions, so whatever. But when you look at them, they're opposites. But it's also air. You can take, as you know, flames will take things and just disperse it into the air, and so you're sending out your message and your hopes into the ether, into the force, so to speak, for everything that is listening to hear. And hopefully the voices that you're speaking to will also hear this, especially if they're not from you, but they're from somebody else. Then something in the force, in the spirit, can hear that. And like I said, it's also sacred. So you get out your little fire here. Hopefully this lighter fluid works. I'm just using a very small thing with some coals and some lighter fluid to get it going. And there we have a fire. I have mine in a little thing, even though it's raining outside. I figured this would probably be the best way to do this instead of putting out like a little fire pit out there. I just have one condensed right here, and I can put my things in. So when you're doing this, you can offer up a prayer. You can, before you light the fire, if you're going to do a sacred circle, set up your circle first and then light the fire inside. Very sacred light. This is really just very informal, just to give you an idea of what it is. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to take each of these pieces, and they have to be on single sheets of paper. You can't have multiple on one sheet of paper. It has to be single sheets of paper because they're going to different people, different messages for different things. And you have to speak these things audibly. They have to be released audibly because it not only reinforces it to the realm around you, it reinforces it to your own spirit, your own mind, your heart, your soul, and now you're knowing for a fact, this is final. I'm actually releasing this. So we're going to start, and it would look a lot like this when you start doing this. To the voice that cried out into the force, thank you for giving me an opportunity to save my friend's life. I now release you into the hands of God, for only He can watch after her for all eternity. To the voice which wished ill will towards another, I release you into the force so that you and I may finally find peace from your malice. Now I'm just going to kind of let this burn. But if you'll note, I waited until each piece of paper, and I got like a little memo pad to write these things on, but until each piece of paper was burned enough that the words could be carried before I started on the next one. And I addressed what they were. Now, you might have to write down what it was, and you could say, to the voice that said, the first one was, to the voice that said, I'll just let her kill me. All I have to do is don't tap out, or something to that effect. Then you could say that specifically. Or you could just call it what it was, crying out into the forest for help, which is what I did. As long as you actually can recall which voice it is that you're talking to, that's all that really matters. If there were several that sounded about the same, but you could tell that they were from different people, or different things in the world, that's fine. As you noticed, I said I gave a thank you to one, and then I released the one that was of malice, and we went over that last week. I want this, I'm not going to let it completely burn out. There's coal in here. I'll be out here all day if that was the case. But the point of it is that you're supposed to let these things burn out and go. And when you're done with all of the ones that you've done, you'll want to close it out with a prayer. So I said you could open it with a prayer. If you are not doing a sacred circle, which also has to be closed out, but if you're not doing a sacred circle or anything like that, then you can reserve the prayer until afterwards. You want something that closes it out and speaks of how this has helped you, or how you are giving everything over to the force, to God, whatever deity you decide that you're gonna invoke for this in particular. And just kind of let it all go. Sit for a while. Don't just get up and go. Just sit for a while and kind of just let it cleanse you before you really put out the fire. You don't want to put out the fire until after you've done the closing out. That should be the last thing that you do, or until after you've done your prayer. Putting out the fire should be the absolute last thing. So I've explained this to you. You have about a day to do this if you wanted to do this on Halloween. So this would be tomorrow, or you could do it on All Hallows Day. You can do it anytime you really want. It doesn't actually matter if it's Halloween. Like I said, I just thought that would be kind of fun to do it on a day that has this association, the symbolism with it in our own lore. But other than that, I hope that you've learned something. I hope that you've gained something from this exercise in total. And I would love to hear your comments below to see exactly how this whole thing worked out for you.